Take the deepest breath you can, right now, and hold it. That single lungful is your entire budget. No tank, no air, just the breath you are holding and the water closing over your head. Now imagine you start to sink, and you keep sinking, straight down into the dark. Here is the promise of this video. We are going to take your ordinary body down on one breath, meter by meter, and watch exactly what breaks, and in what order, and how deep it gets before it stops. Because your body was not built for this, and yet it is stranger than that. Parts of it were. Buried in your biology is an ancient program you share with seals and dolphins, and the moment your face hits cold water, that program switches on without asking you. Your heart will slow down on purpose. Your blood will abandon your arms and legs. Your lungs will be squeezed to the size of a fist, and then something will rush in to save them. At 10 meters, the pressure has already doubled. At 30, the danger quietly changes shape. And somewhere past 100, you reach a wall that is not really about being crushed at all. Most people assume the deep sea kills you by squeezing you flat. It does not. The truth is far weirder. So how deep can a human actually go before the body finally fails? And which part of you do you think gives out first? Start at the surface, floating, lungs full. Above you sits the entire atmosphere, pressing down. You never feel it, because you grew up inside it. But that is one atmosphere of pressure, everywhere. Now you slip under and begin to descend. Water is roughly 800 times denser than air, so the pressure climbs fast. For every 10 meters you sink, it increases by one whole atmosphere. At 10 meters down, you are under 2 atmospheres. The weight on you has already doubled. And gases obey a simple, ruthless rule. Squeeze a gas twice as hard, and it takes up half the space. Your lungs are the largest air pocket in your body, so they feel it first and hardest. That full breath you took, maybe 6 liters, is crushed to 3 by the time you pass 10 meters. Your chest visibly caves inward. Your ribs, normally rigid, begin to flex under the load. The first real signal, though, comes from your ears. Behind each eardrum is a small pocket of trapped air. As the pressure outside rises, that pocket shrinks, and the eardrum bows painfully inward. This is why every diver learns to equalize, pinching the nose and gently pushing air up into the ears. Do it, and the pain vanishes. Fail to do it, and the eardrum can tear. Water is not patient. Meanwhile, your sinuses, those hollow spaces in your skull, are squeezing too. If a sinus is blocked by a cold, it cannot equalize, and the pressure difference can bruise the lining. Divers have surfaced with blood in their mask from nothing more than a stuffy nose at depth. Even the air trapped in a tiny cavity under a filling in your tooth can throb as it shrinks. Your whole body is quietly being compressed, but only the air-filled parts complain. Your muscles, your bones, your blood are almost entirely water, and water refuses to compress. Squeeze water as hard as you like, and it barely budges. That is what will save your life later. But right now, at 15 meters, your body notices it is falling and starts to react. Not with panic, with an ancient reflex older than your species, waking up in your chest. The instant cold water touched your face, a switch was thrown, and you did not choose it. Sensors in your skin, especially around your nose and forehead, sent a single message to your brain. You are underwater now. Change everything. This is the mammalian dive reflex, and it is astonishingly old. You share it with seals, whales, and otters. It has been sleeping in your wiring your entire life. The first thing it does is slow your heart, deliberately, sharply, sometimes by a quarter or more. In trained freedivers, the heart can fall from 70 beats a minute to barely 30. A slower heart burns less oxygen, and oxygen is the only currency you have down here. Every beat you save is a second of life you buy. Your body has decided to spend carefully. Next, it closes the borders. Blood vessels in your arms and legs clamp down hard. Warm blood retreats from your limbs and pools in your core, around the heart, lungs, and brain. Your hands and feet go cold and useless, and the body does not care. It is protecting the headquarters. Only 3 things matter now: the brain, the heart, and the lungs. Everything else can wait. Then comes the strangest move of all. Your spleen, a small organ tucked behind your stomach, contracts. It has been holding a private reserve of oxygen-rich red blood cells, and now it squeezes them out. Your blood suddenly carries more oxygen than it did at the surface, a transfusion from your own body. Freedivers call this a warm-up, and it is real. Repeated dives trigger a bigger spleen release. There is even a deeper layer to this reflex, and it grows stronger the colder the water gets. A young child dropped into cold water shows it most powerfully of all, hearts slowing almost at once. It is thought to be part of why some people have been pulled from freezing lakes, apparently drowned, and revived with no brain damage after far longer underwater than should ever be survivable. The cold and the reflex together slowed everything down and preserved the brain until rescue arrived. So here you are, 30 meters down, transformed. A slow heart, a shrunken chest, blood hoarded at the core. You are no longer behaving like a land animal at all. You have quietly become something more like a seal. And that is fortunate, because at this depth, an ordinary body would already be in serious trouble. The pressure is now 4 times what it was at the surface, and your lungs are running out of room to shrink. Something changes at around 30 meters, and it is not just the pressure, it is the way you move. Near the surface, your full lungs made you buoyant. The water kept pushing you back up. You had to kick and fight to go down, clawing your way against your own floating body. But as you descend, your lungs keep shrinking, and a shrinking body takes up less space. Take up less space, and you become less buoyant. Somewhere around 30 meters, you cross a line. You stop floating. You become heavier than the water around you, and then you simply fall. Freedivers know this moment well. They call it the free fall, and many say it is the reason they dive. You stop swimming entirely. You fold your arms, go still, and the deep pulls you down like gravity. It is silent, weightless, and effortless, and it is carrying you away from the surface you must return to. Divers describe it as the closest thing to flying a human body can feel, a slow fall through blue nothing. But that seductive ease is a debt. Every meter the deep pulls you down for free must be climbed back by hand. Now do the arithmetic your body is doing. At 30 meters, the pressure is 4 atmospheres. Your 6 liters of air have been crushed to 1.5 liters, roughly the size of the empty space left. And here you meet a hard limit built into your own anatomy. It is called your residual volume. Even when you breathe all the way out on land, your lungs never fully empty. Some air always remains. That leftover pocket exists so your delicate lungs never collapse and stick shut like a wet plastic bag. But underwater, pressure is trying to crush your lungs below even that safety line. By classic logic, past a certain depth, your chest should be squeezed smaller than the lungs can survive. The tissue should tear. The airways should collapse. On paper, this is where a human being breaks. For a long time, scientists believed roughly 30 to 40 meters was an absolute wall for a breath-hold diver. Go deeper, they thought, and your lungs would simply be crushed inward until they ruptured. And yet people have gone far, far past it and come back alive. So the textbooks were missing something. The body had one more trick, and it is the most extraordinary one of all. Here is the part almost nobody expects, the reason a human can survive depths that should destroy them. As you sink past 40, 50, 60 meters, your lungs are crushed toward that unbreakable residual limit. The empty space is nearly gone. By simple physics, the walls should now be forced to buckle and tear. But they do not buckle, because your body fills the space with something that cannot be compressed: blood. Remember, water does not squeeze, and blood is mostly water. That fact becomes your salvation. Under the crushing pressure, the tiny blood vessels lining your lungs swell and engorge with plasma. Fluid floods into the chest, into the vessels wrapped around every air sac, filling in around the shrinking air. The lung stops being a bag of gas and becomes a dense, blood-soaked, nearly solid organ. And a solid, fluid-filled space cannot be crushed, because there is no empty room left to collapse into. Scientists call this the blood shift, or thoracic filling, and for years they simply did not know it existed. It is the reason a freediver can pass 100 meters and surface with their lungs intact. Your body, facing a wall it could not push through, chose to fill itself in instead. Think about what that means. Liters of your own blood have been pulled inward, away from your limbs, and packed into your chest, turning your lungs into ballast, so the ocean has nothing left to squeeze. It is a rescue improvised by evolution, silent and automatic, happening in total darkness, far below the light. No signal reaches you. You feel only the fall, and the strange peace divers describe at depth. The same blood shift is happening, in miniature, to the whales and seals that dive far deeper still. Their bodies simply lean into the trick harder, with more flexible ribs and lungs built to fully collapse. You are running the exact same ancient program they do, just with a body that was repurposed for land. The wonder is not that you are worse at it than a seal. The wonder is that you can do it at all. But make no mistake, this is a truce, not a victory. The pressure has been outmaneuvered, not defeated. Your oxygen is still burning away with every slow heartbeat, and the surface is now very far above. And this is the trap of the deep. Getting down was the easy part. Your body handled it beautifully. The real danger has been waiting the whole time for the one thing you absolutely have to do. Come back up. Everything about the descent lulls you. It is calm, it is effortless, and your body copes brilliantly. That is exactly why the deep is dangerous. The threat is not down there. It is on the way home. As you turn and begin to rise, the pressure that crushed you starts, gratefully, to release. Your lungs re-expand. The blood shift reverses. Your crushed chest opens back up. It feels like relief. But there is a hidden accountant here, and it deals only in oxygen, and its books are nearly empty. The whole dive, your body has been spending oxygen, quietly, breath held, from a supply that never refills. On the way down, the high pressure was doing you a strange favor. It squeezed the air in your lungs, which kept the oxygen pressed hard enough to keep feeding your blood, even as the supply ran low. Now you ascend, and that pressure falls away, and the favor is abruptly withdrawn. In the final stretch, the last 10 or 15 meters, the pressure drops fastest of all. The oxygen left in your lungs suddenly loses its push and can no longer cross into your blood. Your brain, starved in an instant, does the only thing it can. It switches you off. This is shallow water blackout, and it is the quiet killer of experienced, healthy freedivers. The cruel twist is that hyperventilating before a dive, breathing hard and fast to feel ready, makes it far more likely, by fooling the alarm that would have told you to surface in time. It strikes not in the crushing deep, but a few meters from the surface, a few seconds from air. The diver simply goes limp, often with no warning and no struggle. So close you could almost touch them. It is why the first and hardest rule of freediving is brutally simple. Never, ever dive alone. So the answer to how deep you can go is not really a story about being crushed. Your body has an answer for the crushing. What it cannot cheat is the arithmetic of a single breath. You can only go as deep as you can still climb back from before the oxygen runs out. But there is another way into the deep, one that trades this problem for a set of far stranger ones. Everything so far assumed one held breath. Now strap on a tank of air and change the rules entirely. With scuba gear you can breathe at depth, so oxygen is no longer the thing that runs out first. Instead, you can stay down long enough for the deep to start playing tricks with the gases in your blood. And the ordinary air you are breathing, mostly nitrogen, becomes a problem you never have on land. Nitrogen is normally an innocent bystander. You breathe it constantly and it does nothing at all. But force it into your body under high pressure, and it begins to dissolve into your nerves and brain. Past about 30 meters, that dissolved nitrogen acts like a drug. Divers call it the rapture of the deep. It feels like calm, giddy drunkenness. People have offered their breathing gear to passing fish. It is genuinely deadly, precisely because it feels wonderful, while it quietly erases your judgment. And nitrogen has a second, colder trick, waiting for you on the way back up. All that gas dissolved into your blood under pressure has to come out slowly as you rise. Come up too fast, and it does what a shaken fizzy drink does the instant you crack the cap. It fizzes. Bubbles of nitrogen erupt inside your blood and your joints and your tissues. This is decompression sickness, the bends, and it can cripple or kill. The bubbles block vessels and tear tissue. It is why divers ascend slowly, in careful stages, pausing to let the gas seep out gently and safely. A dive that lasted 20 minutes at depth can demand an hour of patient hovering ascent to pay off. Skip that patience, and the bubbles can lodge in the spine or brain, and the damage can be permanent. The deep gave them time and charged a price for it, payable only on the journey home. Even the oxygen turns against you. The gas that keeps you alive becomes toxic under enough pressure, able to trigger convulsions deep down where a seizure means drowning. Everything, past a point, becomes a poison. So the tank does not defeat the deep. It simply swaps one impossible clock for a fistful of new ones. There is no version of a human body that the deep ocean welcomes. There is only how you choose to be turned away. So, put it all together. How deep can a human being actually go? The answer depends on the bargain you make. On a single breath, with no equipment, humans have passed 200 meters and returned alive. The current records sit above 230 meters, a depth that sounds physically impossible. At that depth, the pressure is over 20 atmospheres, and the lungs are crushed to a fraction of their size. To reach it, divers hold a breath for over 4 minutes and cover the length of several football fields, straight down and straight back, on a single mouthful of air taken at the surface. They train for years to raise their tolerance for carbon dioxide, the gas that actually creates the urge to breathe. That desperate, burning need to inhale is not caused by a lack of oxygen. It is your body detecting rising carbon dioxide. Free divers learn to stay calm as that alarm screams, which is as much a mental feat as a physical one. The blood shift holds. The dive reflex holds. The body, astonishingly, does not break under the weight, which tells you something profound. For a breath-hold diver, being crushed was never the true limit. The limit is time. It is the single lungful of oxygen, and the long, punishing climb back to the light. Go deep enough that you cannot return before you black out, and the depth itself becomes the executioner. With tanks and exotic gas mixes, humans have touched over 300 meters and lived. But each meter multiplies the narcosis, the bends, the toxicity, and the hours of careful ascent. The deepest reaches of the ocean, kilometers down, remain places no unshielded body will ever go. Not because the flesh is crushed, but because you could never carry enough breath or climb back in time. And yet consider how far you got. An ordinary body, built for warm air and dry land, descended into crushing cold darkness, slowed its own heart, hoarded its blood, flooded its own lungs, and came back. Not because it was designed for the deep, but because a sliver of an ancient sea creature still lives inside you and wakes the moment your face touches the water. You will probably never test it past a swimming pool, but the machinery is there, complete, waiting. The ocean you crawled out of, hundreds of millions of years ago, left the door quietly unlocked. So how deep can you dive before your body breaks? Deeper than it has any right to, and not by being tough. By being clever, your body does not fight the pressure. It surrenders to it, precisely and on purpose. It slows the heart, retreats the blood, lets the lungs be crushed, then fills them with fluid so they cannot tear. The thing that would destroy a machine is survived by a body that simply refuses to leave any empty space. And the true wall is not the crushing dark at all. It is the arithmetic of one held breath, and the terrible fact that the shallow water, a few meters from safety, is where the deep collects its debts. The deep does not break you by squeezing. It breaks you by running out the clock. Now I want to hear from you. What is the longest you have ever held your breath underwater? And did you ever feel that strange, calm urge to just keep sinking? Tell me in the comments. I read them all. And if watching your own body from the inside is the kind of strange you enjoy, consider subscribing. Every week, we take one more hidden part of you and draw it badly until it finally makes sense. Next time, we stay with the ocean inside you and follow a single drop of your blood on its full loop, from the pump in your chest to your fingertip and back, in under a minute, without ever getting lost. Until then, take care of the very strange, half-aquatic machine you live in. This was Doodle Anatomy.